Imagine you buy a house. Nothing fancy. Brick walls, a small porch, a front door 2 steps above the street. 10 years pass. Now the street is above your door. Your ground floor has quietly become a basement. Every year, your neighbors pour a little more concrete onto their doorsteps. Not to decorate them, just so their doors still open. And here's the part nobody warns you about. Your house is fine. It hasn't moved. The entire city is going down with everything in it. And the strangest part? This city was laid out by the greatest water engineers in history. The Dutch. How fast can a city fall? In the worst years, the north of Jakarta was dropping by up to 25 centimeters every single year. That's 10 inches annually. In a single decade, whole neighborhoods went down by 2.5 meters. Put it this way, while a child walked from first grade to graduation, the street under their school sank by almost the height of a grown man. Today, 40% of this megacity already sits below sea level. In the north, some districts are 1, 2, even 4 meters below it. And the ocean, patient as ever, is right there. Ask anyone why Jakarta is going under, and you'll get the same answer. Rising seas, climate change, the ocean taking back the land. It sounds obvious. It's also almost completely wrong. The sea is barely part of this story. The real reason the city is falling is stranger and much closer to home. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is and why billions of dollars, the biggest seawall ever proposed, and the best engineers on the planet still can't stop it. Because here's what makes this story remarkable. One country already fought exactly this war against water and won. And that country is the one that built Jakarta in the first place. To understand the trap, you have to go back 400 years. In 1619, the Dutch East India Company chose a swampy river delta on the coast of Java and started building. Not just a trading post, a statement. They called it Batavia, and they designed it like the city they missed, a perfect grid of canals, drawbridges, warehouses, dams, an Amsterdam of the tropics drawn by people who had spent centuries mastering water. There was just one problem. Their textbook was written for the North Sea, cool, tame, predictable. This was the tropics. 13 rivers come down from the mountains through modern Jakarta, and in monsoon season, they carry staggering loads of mud and volcanic silt. The elegant Dutch canals didn't flush clean like Amsterdam's. They clogged. Water stopped moving, and in the tropics, standing water isn't just ugly, it breeds mosquitoes. Malaria and dysentery tore through the city so relentlessly that Batavia earned a nickname no city wants, the cemetery of Europeans. By around 1810, the Dutch did something quietly extraordinary. They gave up on their own masterpiece. The government moved inland to higher ground, leaving the old canal city behind. The masters of water had been beaten, not by the sea, but by the land itself. And that was only the first mistake, the one poured into the foundation. The real trouble began much later, when the city started to drink. Modern Jakarta is one of the largest urban areas on Earth. Around 30 million people in the greater metropolitan region, 30 million people who need to shower, cook, and drink. And for most of the city's modern history, the pipes simply weren't there. For decades, piped water reached less than half of the city. Even today, it reaches only about 3/4. So the city solved the problem itself. Houses drilled wells, hotels drilled deeper wells, shopping malls, office towers, entire factories, all pulling water straight out of the ground beneath their own foundations. Thousands of illegal deep wells, hundreds of thousands of small household wells. Nobody knows the true number, but researchers estimate the real extraction may be roughly double what's officially licensed. Now, here's what that does. Forget the ocean for a second. Picture the city standing on a giant inflatable mattress. Every well is a thin straw stuck into it, quietly letting the air out. The ground beneath Jakarta is young, soft clay soaked with water, and as the water is pulled out, the clay compresses, and millions of tons of concrete settle down into the space it leaves behind. And here is the truly brutal part. Confirmed by geologists, this compression is permanent. Once soft clay collapses, it never springs back. You could refill every drop of that water tomorrow, but the city would not rise by a single centimeter. Every meter Jakarta has lost, it has lost forever. So what do you do when your capital is sliding into the sea? Jakarta fights. Along the northern shore stands a coastal wall, which engineers have to keep raising because the ground it stands on keeps dropping. Behind it, pumping stations push floodwater out of neighborhoods that can no longer drain on their own. Then, in 2014, came the big idea: the giant seawall, a colossal barrier across the bay, shaped, when seen from above, like Indonesia's national bird, the Garuda. Price tag, around $40 billion. And who did Indonesia invite to design it? The Dutch. A consortium from Rotterdam and Delft, the same nation that founded this city 4 centuries ago, returning to fight the same water. For 10 years, the project stalled, too expensive, too controversial, too slow. So Indonesia prepared a plan B that sounds like science fiction. Abandon ship. Build an entirely new capital, Nusantara, in the jungles of Borneo. More than $30 billion, a fresh start on solid ground. Then, in 2025, everything flipped. The new capital's budget was slashed by 85%. A court confirmed that Jakarta legally remains the capital. And the seawall? The new president didn't cancel it. He supersized it. Over $80 billion, more than 500 kilometers of defenses along Java's entire northern coast. Construction is scheduled to begin in September 2026. That's now. They built a backup capital, and now they're turning back to save the old one. But here's the strange thing. Even the largest seawall on the planet doesn't treat the cause, because the cause isn't where everyone is looking. Time to take the myth apart. Jakarta is drowning because of climate change. The ocean is swallowing the city. The sea is rising, and that part is real. Off Jakarta's coast, it climbs by about 3.5 millimeters a year, roughly the thickness of 2 coins. The land, over the same years, was dropping tens of times faster, in the worst districts, at the worst moments, nearly 70 times faster. Line those 2 numbers up and the story rewrites itself. The ocean isn't invading, the ocean is barely moving. If the sea had frozen at its level from a century ago, North Jakarta would still be flooding today. This was never a story about water coming up. It's not the sea coming to Jakarta. It's Jakarta going down to meet the sea. Researchers at Bandung's Institute of Technology have calculated that if the old rates ever returned, 95% of North Jakarta could sit below sea level by 2050. Not because the ocean rose, but because the ground left. And once you see it that way, one question becomes unavoidable. The Dutch beat water at home. Why can't anyone beat it here? Here's the answer, the real one. It's not money, it's not technology. The pumps and barriers here are world class, some of them literally Dutch. The difference is a thing you can't pour into a mold. In the Netherlands, water is governed. Since the year 1255, Dutch communities have run waterschappen, water boards older than the country itself, its oldest democratic institutions. Every citizen pays a water tax. No farmer, no factory, no homeowner pumps groundwater on their own terms. Nearly 800 years of collective discipline, drop by drop. In Jakarta, that discipline never had a chance to grow. For 25 years, the city's water supply was run by private concessions with frozen tariffs, which meant extending pipes into poor neighborhoods was a money-losing operation, so it barely happened. The poor ended up paying more for water in jerry cans than the rich paid at their taps. And you cannot ban a man from pumping groundwater when nothing comes out of his faucet. But here's the hopeful twist and the final proof. In the districts where wells were finally banned and pipes finally arrived, Jakarta almost stopped falling. From 25 centimeters a year at the peak to around 3.5 today. The fix works. It was never impossible. A sea wall can be built in 5 years. An institution takes generations. The Dutch can export their pumps, their dredgers, their walls, but their greatest invention was never made of concrete. So let's go back to that front door. Somewhere in North Jakarta this year, a homeowner is mixing a bag of cement and raising his doorstep again. A hand's width, same as last year, same as next year. Not because he reads geology reports, because the street outside told him to. In September 2026, not far from his house, machines will begin building one of the largest coastal defenses in human history. 500 kilometers of walls, designed with the help of the descendants of the people who founded his city. It may hold back the bay, it may buy decades, and most engineers agree the city needs it, but everyone involved knows what it cannot do. It cannot stop the ground from moving, and it cannot refill the emptiness under the clay. Only pipes, taps, and rules can do that. The boring, invisible machinery of a city that trusts its own water. That is the lesson hiding in this bay. You can hire the best engineers in history, and they will build you a wall. What they cannot build you is 800 years of agreeing about water. The Netherlands spent those 800 years proving that the sea can be stopped. Jakarta is spending this century proving something bigger. The sea was never the real enemy. The war against the sea is never lost at the seawall. It's lost at the tap.